What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with Henry Wilson. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Show. We got a monster Friday slate on tap here. Your guy Henry Wilson was on today's MLB DFS Playbook. Sir, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a big slate. I mean, got all but 4 teams here. So I think this is the biggest slate we've had of the season, if my memory serves me right. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
definitely one of the largest slates we've had for sure. Unfortunately for us, some good matchups to target here in this as well. The weather is even cooperating. We don't have to contend with Coors Field, which is nice when you have these large slates because you're almost sometimes like handicapped a bit to like get some Coors Field exposure. But we do have a lot to talk about here. We do appreciate all of you that are tuning in. If you haven't already hit that like button, please do so. It is a free way to support what we do here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I don't know what you're waiting for there either. You get notified whenever we go live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time for a main night slate here over on the Fantasy Alarm channel, Monday through Friday. Henry, like I said, you did the playbook today. I'm going to throw that into chat for everybody so they can get their eyes on it. I also just published sleeper, underdog, and prize pick and plays for today as well over on the Fantasy Alarm site. So if you want to go ahead and check those out as well, we can get you ready to dominate today here. So let's just let's get into it. Let's jump into this main slate. Let's talk a little pitching. When it comes to the top pitching options, there are obviously some elite names up at the top and some pretty good spots. If you had to pick your way through it, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good pitchers here at the top, and I think several pretty good matchups with like Zach Gallen get to face the Mariners. I mean, Shoto Imanaga facing those Cubs, who I think lead the league in strikeout rate against lefties. But if I'm paying up, I'm going for Corbin Burnes today. I think Corbin Burnes is probably the best pitcher in all of baseball right now, considering Garrett Cole and Spencer Strider are both hurt. So, like, I think that Corbin Burnes is probably the number one guy talent-wise, and he's facing Oakland, and he isn't even the top-priced pitcher.
Right.
So, like, if I have him paying up, I'm going for Corbin Burnes.
Yeah, Burnes is featured in a couple of my picks today over on Prize Picks and Underdog. You know, I guess like the strikeouts are like minorly concerning. I mean, 4, 5, 6, 3 in four of his five starts there. But Oakland obviously not a great team. Bottom 3 in WOBA and ISO against right-handed pitching here, and I would imagine he gets more strikeouts against this lineup than he would against Kansas City. There. So we'll see if he can round out the strikeouts because you kind of do need those strikeouts, given the win equity that he has to sort of pay off the $9,800. $200 more. I guess, obviously there's been some up and down starts for Zach Gallen, but he does have that Seattle matchup. Obviously Seattle, second highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. There's some early concerns this season with the velocity dip in Zach Gallen. He had the 10 strikeout game against Colorado. Has faced some tougher matchups, but still kind of hovering around, overall solid outings here. Do you like Gallen at all today when it comes to spending up?
Oh, absolutely. I think Gallen's an incredible pitcher facing the Mariners. He'll probably get some strikeouts. Like, I totally could see going for him as well. Again, I think I like Corbin Burnes a little more. Sure. But honestly, I don't know if I'm going to go for any of these guys just because I have some cheaper options down there that I like a lot better.
Yes, there are a lot of value plays here. So let's just get into the mid-tier there. Let's talk. You mentioned Shota. Obviously, I saw that you have his strikeout prop over on Twitter today. It's more than 5.5. Boston, the highest strikeout rate in baseball against left-handed pitching, over 30% here this season. I guess the question is whether or not the Cubs offense get to Cutter Crawford, who has a sub-1 ERA through 5 starts this year. He's been unhittable. But still, you got to think there's a ceiling strikeout game coming for Shota here. He's only top 5 Ks once, but given all things considered in the matchup, you got to think some more Ks are coming his way today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I'm playing his strikeout prop today. I think that he's definitely going to get those. I think the only reason I'm not as interested in playing him here for DFS is just because I like Cutter Crawford even better. Sure. Cutter Crawford has been absolutely amazing this season. Obviously, he leads the major leagues in ERA, but like I don't care about that stat as much as the fact that he's going out there and getting strikeouts every day. His entire pitch arsenal has been awesome. A fun thing is he's added a splitter more.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always kind of had a splitter, but he's started throwing it more. 4 of his strikeouts in his last game were off of this splitter, and he only threw that pitch 2 times and 4 times in his first 2 starts.
Right.
So adding that to get some more strikeouts against lefties with it. Like, I think he was my favorite Red Sox pitcher going into the season. Like, I really thought he was going to be awesome. I didn't think he was going to be this awesome.
Right.
But he's just been fantastic. I think he's going to keep it going against the Cubs, who, don't have Cody Bellinger, which helps.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Fenway is a pretty tough place to pitch, but he's just been so good that I don't really see him having struggles here today.
Yeah, I like Cutter Crawford there as well. My favorite pitcher of the day is actually Zach Eflin, just for cost. $9,000 here, going up against the Chicago White Sox. He's thrown shutouts in each of his last 2 starts against the Yankees and Angels. 5 or more strikeouts in all of his starts, so a decent amount of strikeouts there, and maybe even some more strikeout equity. And you're looking at the White Sox team. They're dead last in WOBA. They're dead last in ISO. They're second last in batting average against right-handed pitching. For me, I do like Zach Eflin tonight at 9K.
My only question there is, how's the weather in Chicago? I saw it was pretty rainy.
Last I looked, I didn't think it was that big of an impact. Has it gotten worse since earlier? Let's see here.
Probably not. I had checked pretty early in the morning, and so maybe it's gotten better since I had
the most recent update was more so like they play without issue, but there is rain in the area. So good point to you. Should that obviously change, and we're 3 hours plus from roster lock, or from this game starts at 7:40 Eastern time, roster lock at 7. So to your point, we're 3+ hours away. Things can certainly change by then. So keep that on your radar. As Henry points out, again, I was just going off the most recent update there. But if Eflin's good to go and that game looks good to go, I mean, certainly a matchup worth targeting at his price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where else are you looking in the mid tier? Like you said, there's definitely plenty of pitching options tonight. Who else are some of your favorites here?
Yeah, so many pitching options. There's so many guys that I like that you can make an argument for. One of the others that sticks out in the mid range for me is Luis Gil.
Sure.
He's been pitching so well. 6 strikeouts in every outing so far. He put up a career high 9 in his last outing against the Rays. Obviously, Milwaukee hits righties pretty well. They're one of the better hitting teams against right-handed pitchers, but they still strike out quite a bit. And his stuff has been so good. 35% strikeout rate. He's walking too many guys, but a lot of it's inflated from that 7-walk game, but still at least 3 walks in each start.
Yeah.
Isn't what you love, but when he's striking out 35% of the batters he faces, you can kind of live with that.
Yeah.
So I think, the strikeout upside's just so high that I'm willing to take the extra risk against Milwaukee today with how cheap he is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're not wrong. The Brewers last year, one of the things that we like to talk a lot about was Willie Adames, right? Willie Adames talked extensively about not being able to really see the batter's eye drop when he was at Tampa Bay. Moves on over to Milwaukee, can see it better at home, and he always hits righties really well. So you used to look at his splits there. He was really good right-handed pitching at home with his power numbers, batting average. Never really been a thing for him. The Brewers do throw a lot of lefties into their lineup, but you mentioned the 35 strikeout rate kind of negates, maybe a lot of the worries at times when it comes to pitchers. You see these guys get into jams, like you mentioned with the walks, but then they strike out 2 guys, get a fly ball, and they're out of the inning, and it doesn't really matter. More so the pitch count, I think, would end up mattering more potentially with Gil than anything else. But I'm with you there. I do like that call. Also like Jose Abudu here against St. Louis. Another guy with a nice strikeout rate.
Yeah, absolutely. I also like his strikeouts here today. I think he's, showed his stuff is pretty good. So I think he'll continue to keep pitching well. And I think, he's a pretty good option today too.
Anybody else for you when it comes to pitching? Anybody even cheaper that maybe you have your eye on?
Yeah, they're actually the number one guy that jumps out on this slate to me is Bailey Ober.
Yeah.
At 6,800, which is just absurd. You see that he started the year at $9,000. He was a $9,000 pitcher, and he got absolutely destroyed by the Royals. Gave up 8 earned runs in an inning and a third, but it was his first start. I don't care. Throw that away. Since then, the next 3 starts, he has a 0.65 WHIP and barely over a 1 ERA, and he's struck out almost a batter an inning. like he should still be that $9,000 pitcher that we thought he was at the beginning of the season. Like I'm throwing away the start against the Royals. I think he's fantastic. And at 6,800, like that's just absurdly low priced for how great of a pitcher he is.
We were getting ready to play him the other day when they ended up putting, I think it was Simeon Wood Richardson ended up being the starter. They pushed Bailey Ober back. But I think Ober was like 7,800 that day. Like we were more than happy to pay the mid 7K price tag for him, in that matchup. And then here we go now. They drop him like $1,000. He's $200 cheaper than he was his last outing. Like you mentioned, 6 innings and earned 6 strikeouts. And you can be like, all right, well, he faced Detroit twice. Yeah, he also faced the Dodgers and held them to 1 run with 7 strikeouts. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Bailey Ober was the first plug for me as well, kind of because we got all these high-end guys you're going to want in your lineup. You need to find some value. So Ober was interesting. And then I don't like the player, but Trevor Williams just continues to pitch well enough to be, I think, worthy of consideration here if you needed those extra $500. We know the Miami Marlins offense is not great. Trevor Williams, 17, 15 fantasy points, 19 on his opening day. He hasn't gotten a win in either of his last 2 outings and still came away with 15.8 and 17.7. Got to think the Nationals have a little bit more win equity built into this matchup here. If you're looking to go really down low today, if you come out of this with 16 and 18 fantasy points out of Trevor Williams, you're kind of ahead of the game there.
Yeah, I could see that. I just don't know if I don't think he has much strikeout upside. Like, sure, he put up 7 against Oakland, but that's Oakland. And you're talking about a guy who's a career like sub 19.
Oh, he's not a good pitcher, but he doesn't generate like a lot of hard contact against him. Like I've talked about this a lot with Trevor Williams because every time I used to see him on the slate, I'd be like, oh, this is like a sack against Trevor Williams day. And it just felt like, he would be able to just sort of like float about with like average to above average, outings. A couple of years ago, again, 3.21 ERA for an entire season, with the Mets there. So last year, obviously not great, 5 ERA. But this year, again, he's just sort of floating around. I mean, he's not giving up hard contact against them. I don't think he's like a stellar play, but his expected ERA is only 3.09, so it's not like he's getting extremely lucky, like he's just kind of pitching to what he is.
Yeah. So no, again, maybe it's real. Maybe he's made some changes. I don't know if I buy it, but sure. Like he's done it with 4 starts. Maybe he'll keep doing it again, and you can.
If you get what you got out of Houston, and we know Houston's offense has really been struggling, right? Real down bad to start the year. But 4 Ks, 6 innings, 1 earned, got you 17 fantasy points and a no decision. They win that game, he's giving you 21, right? And you didn't have to do much. So Trevor Williams is the only other guy that I kind of looked at this late. I was like, I don't historically hate the player. But, right now he's pitching well, and the matchup, I think, is pretty good here.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so.
All right, let's go to catcher, where my heart got broken when Omar Narvaez was not in today's lineup because I wanted to just plug in a $2,400 catcher today against Miles Mikolas and move on. But he is out of today's lineup, so I kind of just transitioned. I think Keibert Ruiz at $3,500 or Connor Wong at $3,200, even though we like Shota's, like Shota in general. Connor Wong's been ridiculous right now for the Red Sox. Were 2 guys I was looking at.
Yeah, those are the exact 2 guys I was looking at as well, actually. So, yeah, we're in lockstep there. I think I like Keibert quite a bit. I think he's a great hitter. And, yeah, Connor Wong, I mean, again, he's always hit lefties pretty well, but he's got over 1,000 OPS with 5 home runs right now.
Like, you had to take Connor Wong or Mookie Betts right now in the Red Sox. Who would you take?
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, Connor Wong is, in fact, the last player still on the team from the Mookie Betts trade. So.
I mean, he's been the best player, so... not Mookie. I mean, best player the Red Sox got back, obviously.
That's a little sad. But
it is, but not if he's playing like this. So.
No, yeah. If he keeps this up, if he can hit 364 off season, like 1,000 OPS,
300 hitting catcher, we win that deal. Trade Kyle Teal, I guess. Jonah Heim, 3,900 against Graham Ashcraft, I actually like as well. Happy to go there. Ryan Jeffers, if you want to spend a little bit more money against Patrick Sandoval, homered yesterday. It took a while for the twin stack to come through. They were super chalk in the afternoon. And then Jeffers homered, Edouard Julien homered twice, and my lineup did well. Anybody else for you a catcher today?
Yeah, no, that's about it. I think we're about on the same guys. I like Ryan Jeffers if you're paying up. Probably don't want to pay up a whole lot more than that just because you can spend the money elsewhere. But I'm probably going to live with like Keibert Ruiz or Connor Wong today because they're pretty cheap and both pretty good hitters.
Yep, agreed with you. Moving on over to first base. Definitely a lot of options as we start moving over again. 13 games on tonight's slate, 26 teams. So plenty of first basemen in the lineups here. A lot of these guys DH as well. So you'll have teams with double positions. I talk a lot about Chris Bassett and his numbers against lefties. I basically attacked him all day today in all of the prop pick'em contest articles that I wrote. Got Ohtani at the very top, can also play the outfield, and you got Freeman there at $5,600. Both of those guys for me are among the top plays at the first base position.
Yeah, can't go wrong with those lefties against Bassett, and it's the Dodgers lineup. I think I also like Bryce Harper quite a bit. Obviously,
Sure.
Came back and Homer's first game back from paternity leave, which is great. But he's obviously one of the best hitters on the planet. Musgrove has still not been great. Obviously, he threw 7 innings in his last outing, but it still was like 3 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's still just like not looking super electric, and so I like Bryce Harper there. But yeah, there's a lot of options here today. I also like going down to Ryan Mountcastle again today. I really like the Orioles in this matchup, and he's as a bit of a cheaper option, but has been hitting the ball super well and batting 5th in a really strong lineup. I like going there as well.
Yeah, I got him, Ryan O'Hearn, same lineup, hitting 3rd today. Again, this is a day where you want to probably make one, or I like to play. I'm usually a single lineup guy. I play one lineup and throw it in a couple of contests and move on. There's so many stacks in combinations of players today in great spots that it's probably a day that I'll enter like the 3 max and just play 3 lineups to get the exposure. Because really like Baltimore against Ross Stripling here today. We'll get to Atlanta. They got Ozzie Albies back in their lineup today. They're going up against the lefty. Obviously the Dodgers and that matchup. So a lot of great spots that you're mentioning here that you can go to. Nathaniel Lowe, $3,800 against Graham Ashcraft. Rangers, I think, are in a really good spot. And then I always like to give a nod to Lamonte Wade when he's there at $3,400.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nate Lowe was one of my favorites in my playbook today. I just think that he's still too cheap. We talked about him the other day, but yeah, he's not like an exciting guy because he doesn't have a lot of power for most first basemen, and there's obviously no speed, but he's just a consistent hitter, and he's batting 3rd in that Rangers lineup. And yeah, they're actually one of my like sneaky favorite stacks today against Graham Ashcraft. And so, yeah, I like the value that Nate Lowe brings here. He hit a home run yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, he could do that again, but even if he doesn't bring the power, like he usually doesn't have a whole ton of, he can very easily stack up a couple of hits with a couple runs, RBIs. Like he's just a quality hitter in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah, 100%. And again, the Rangers lineup also today looking pretty good. Anybody else for you at first base today?
No, that's probably about it for me. Yeah.
All right, second base then. As I mentioned, Betts and Marte both leading off at the top. Marcus Semien, the return of Ozzie Albies at $4,900. I highlighted Albies in this morning's DFS preview video just for the price. He's $4,900, which is about $1,000 cheaper than we've been paying for him, leading up into that injury here. So you're getting a discount on a guy that has historically hammered lefties. Logan Allen I think there's some talent there, but he hasn't really pitched consistently enough to realize that. I don't see that happening on the road in Atlanta today.
Yeah, absolutely. Ozzie Albies is a stud, and he crushes lefties. Like, you never know what guy, coming back, is it going to take him a second to get his timing down? But someone as good of a hitter as Ozzie Albies, he's probably going to be okay.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I like going there today. I think you can't go wrong with any of those top options of, Marcus Semien getting in that Rangers lineup and Mookie Betts. It's just, they're all going to provide a lot of value most days.
Sure. Where are you going elsewhere when it comes to second base today?
Yeah, I think there's some sneaky places to go here. Ahmed Rosario has been kind of hitting great for the Rays. The Rays haven't had a whole lot of offense to be excited about, but he's all of a sudden like playing every day, which wasn't expected, and he's actually hitting the ball pretty well. So I don't hate that. I think he's not super cheap. I wish he was more like $4,000 still, but even at the $4,500, I think he could be a pretty good value there in this matchup today.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's someone that I've been looking at on slates. Obviously, the price has started to rise on him. Has a little power, has a little speed. Can certainly get to that if you wanted to. Moving down, I know you liked Louis Gill for the strikeouts. I do like Bryce Terang. He gets on. There's some strikeout. There's some stolen base potential rather there for him. But this was a position to me that kind of dropped off rather quick. Was there any value plays that you liked today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can go back to Kevin Biggio if we want. We've been playing him a lot lately. I also am a fan of Luis Garcia Jr. He's another not exciting guy, but with Luzardo being scratched, he now is all of a sudden kind of viable in that spot if you want to save money. Yeah. But I'm kind of with you. Most likely, this is not a position that I want to save money at. I probably want one of those higher up guys today.
Agreed. Third base position, again, a lot of top end guys. We got a price jump on Jordan Westburg. Again, a lot of some of the Baltimore guys we've talked about recently did actually get a boost here today. Colton Cosner got a nice bump in the outfield. Westburg up now to $4,800. Riley and Ramirez and Devers, your usual top crew. I like Max Muncy just because I'm buying into lefties versus Bassett today. Where are you going?
Yeah, I can, can't complain about Muncy there, but I'm probably going to go with the hot hand of Alec Boehm right now. Sure. He is he is the hottest hitter on the planet over the last week. He has been absolutely absurd. Currently on a 9-game hitting streak, and through that 9-game hitting streak, he has 17 hits, and 9 of them are for extra bases. He is absolutely locked in right now. And again, the matchup against Musgrove isn't really scaring me. And so I'm kind of okay riding that hot hand and going with Alec Boehm today.
Yeah, Alec Boehm was just chilling on the waiver wire in one of my leagues last week, and I needed a third baseman, scooped him up, and now I've been riding this hot streak. So that's been pretty nice. Yeah, 486, 1,300 OPS over the last 10. Can't complain about that. Even with the righty-righty matchup, Musgrove, like you mentioned, off to a little bit of a slower start. I mentioned liking Muncy for me here. Brian Hayes has hit lefties well. We do like Kyle Harrison as a talent, but again, he hasn't always pitched to that level yet. And then after that, assuming he's in a lineup, Josh Smith is where I was going to go at $3,300, but there isn't much other value here at this position outside of him.
Agreed. Yeah, I also like Josh Smith. You get the lefty-righty matchup, and I already talked about the Rangers offense that I like, and so he's been hitting pretty well for a cheap option there. But yeah, that's really the only place I want to go cheaper as well today. Obviously, we've been kind of going after Brett Beatty sometimes as a cheap option, but he really has not been delivering, so I'm kind of getting tired of going to Brett Beatty as a cheap option
too. So earlier he was hitting cleanup, all right, Beatty 3K cleanup. But JD Martinez returns today for the Mets, makes his debut. They kind of reshuffle their lineup, and now he's hitting 8th. So I have less interest there, but he is at least a 3K starter. There are some other cheaper guys. If you really want to go, they recalled Lipscomb. He's $2,400. There was some stolen base potential there. But I'm not playing any of these guys down here. So
no, definitely not.
Shortstop, I did have Mason Winn in my example line this morning, but he is not playing. So now we have to figure out where to go. When it comes to spinning up at shortstop, who are you targeting today?
Man, if I'm spending up, I'm going after Elly De La Cruz. He's just been unreal. The fact that he has been everything that we thought he could be this season, is pretty ridiculous. Because the speed and power combo that he brings every day, the upside is unreal, because who knows if he's going to go hit a homer and steal 2 bases. And I like Nathan Eovaldi quite a bit. I don't necessarily want to stack a whole bunch of Reds against necessarily, but Ellie's been so hot, and he hits righties better than lefties too as a switch hitter, that I just think if I'm going to pay up, I'm going to take that ridiculous upside. Well, he's still cheaper than, Mookie and Trey and Gunnar. I'm going to go after Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah. I mean, again, I do like Eovaldi as a low roster tournament play today, but
yeah,
I mean, Elly is he's capable of just breaking slates with the way he's going. Without Luzardo, I like Abrams as well at 5K. I know the price is certainly coming up on him, but I was not in on the Washington bats with Luzardo in. Abrams certainly looks a little bit better. Lindor's been terrible outside of the last game where he had 2 homers. I don't know if you're interested in chasing the power for him there in the mid tier, but anybody else for you under 5K?
I mean, obviously you could go back to Orlando Arcia, which we've done recently. I don't like that he's now dropped back down to batting 8th against the lefty. It was awesome when he was cheap and batting 2nd, But again, this Braves lineup, like you can get pretty good production from the bottom of it as well. And so I don't trust Logan Allen a bunch. And if you're really trying to go after a lot of Braves bats, I'm okay going for the cheaper Orlando Arcia option still, even though he is batting lower. But beyond that, again, is another one that I feel like drops off a lot. I don't love a whole lot of the cheaper options today. Any of the,
I had Caballero as the guy to look at back-to-back games with stolen bases for him. But again, you mentioned that game, that's all weather dependent, right? So I mean, if they play, then I think there's some potential in him there. But yeah, after that, it does drop off pretty big time here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm okay if you don't need to spend for the top options of your Mookie Betts, Ellie De La Cruz area, but I feel like I want to at least be spending that, around $4,000 range and getting one of the bats that I can really trust with so many of those good bats at shortstop instead of trying to punt in that position.
Agreed. With there being 13 games, there are a ton of value outfielders on today's slate, so we can certainly find some value there. But the top guys for you, who are some of the few you're plugging in?
Yeah, I mean, at the top end here, again, there's so many good options you can go to. I really like Juan Soto. If I had to pick any one of the super top guys I'm going to go after, I think that the Yankees lineup has been slightly up and down and disappointing, but Juan Soto sure hasn't been. Juan Soto's amazing. And so getting him in this matchup today, I don't think Colin Ray is going to be able to, do a whole lot to avoid contact. And I think the only downside here is what if Soto just gets walked 3 times and never really gets to hit. But right. I think he still has such good upside here that I like Juan Soto if you want to pay up for somebody.
Sure. That works for me as well. Again, liking that matchup for him against Colin Ray. Mentioned Ohtani and Acuna obviously have great split matchups for them there. Schwarber has the power. Ozuna versus the lefty looking pretty great. Not great for Corbin Carroll to be hitting 7th versus a righty. That's something to note.
Don't like that. I don't like, as someone who owns some Corbin Carroll in some important fantasy leagues, I really don't love that. He's been on to not a great start. I still think he'll turn around. I think he's a great player, but I don't want to pay that high of a price for him batting 7th, when he's been struggling a bit.
Not versus a righty hitting 7th. That's pretty bad. I mentioned Kowser. He's hitting 8th. He's up to 4,700, but he's still ripping. He's got Stripling there. If you want to go in Baltimore stack, that makes it a little bit easier for a wraparound play. If you wanted to go there, JD's hitting 5th, 4,400.
Yeah, I mean, JD Martinez is a fantastic hitter. I feel like most of last year he was living at the $5,000 range, Yeah. So if we're assuming that he can come back and be the same hitter he was last year, which I don't know why we would really expect anything else out of him at this point in his career, it's definitely an option that you could go for there against Miles Mikolas.
And where else are you looking here at the outfield position?
I like those other Baltimore bats as well. I think Kowser is maybe the more exciting, but he's the more expensive one too. When you can get Santander, who's batting 4th, and also Cedric Mullins, who's 6th there. Again, you can stack this entire Orioles outfield for reasonably cheap, which is kind of great because they all are good hitters and a pretty good matchup here against Rouse Stripling.
Agreed. Working our way down, like I mentioned, there's a lot of options. I like Jock Peterson here at $4,200.
Yes,
hitting the ball really well. He's the one hitting 2nd, not Corbin Carroll today against Hancock. Marte is $4,200 as well. Brandon Marsh has been a guy I played a lot of. If you're not in on Musgrove, $4,200. Nimmo's $41. It is so loaded because there's 3 outfielders per team and there's 13 games today.
Yeah, there are a lot of outfielders. It's tough to do only one lineup today because how do you choose just 3 outfielders out of all of these?
I'm assuming you're going back to Varsho today again?
I mean, of course, I'm going to consider it at least. He's still, again, he slowed down a little bit. You see his last 2 days, one hit. It's also because he's taking his walks, he's still having productive at bats. So I think there's a great chance for him to come back and homer again today. Again, the matchup doesn't scare you a whole lot as far as the Dodgers rotation goes. So yeah, I'm happy there. I also like Lars Nootbaar back into the batting 3rd.
Sure.
So I like that better than when he's been getting dropped down to 5th, 6th. So again, I like Budo today as well. So I don't know if I want to stack a bunch of Cardinals, but I think Lars Nootbaar is a great hitter and batting third.
Just on the Varsho point here, because last season one of our favorite things to do was lefties against Gavin Stone. 385 WOBA, 542 slugging against last season for Stone against lefties. This year, it's been worse. 479 WOBA, 559 slug, 412 batting average against left-handed hitters this year for Gavin Stone. So,
so lefties are gonna feast in that game. You have Bassett on the other end. And you have Stone. Like every lefty is gonna absolutely.
The problem is Toronto doesn't have many lefty bats in their lineup. Like they're just not a left-handed heavy offense. Let's see, what do they have? Like Kiermaier and Varsho? Is that like all they can throw out there today? What do they get? Oh yeah, Biggio is
Kiermaier lefty. I thought Kiermaier was a righty.
Yeah, this guy Addison Barger is also a lefty. So Kiermaier actually went on the IL. He's the one replacing him. So this was actually someone that I put into a lineup today that I was going to bring up because he's a lefty going up against Gavin Stone. He's $2,000 there, and he's hitting 7th. So if you wanted to spend down all the way down and just play the splits matchups, I mean, Addison Barger here, at the minor league level, AAA, 314, a 900 plus OPS, 3 homers in 19 games. So, who knows? Maybe he comes through, but I'm just playing the matchups. So
why not? At $2,000, like he doesn't have to do a whole lot for you.
No, and Varsho hitting 5th and that guy hitting 7th. It's a little stack play there. So yeah, you can get cheap with it today. Again, Outman's 36, Duvall is 36. If you're just looking at some guys that are currently in the lineups, talk to Lamonte Wade there at $3,400. Let's see, going all the way down even more. Pajas is there. Refsnyder.
Oh yeah. I almost forgot about talking about Refsnyder. He's in the
lefty masher, Rob Refsnyder.
I know. Look, Rob Refsnyder. As a Red Sox fan, I hate that he's in the starting lineup like every day right now. Like this guy doesn't really have any business being a starting everyday outfielder, but he does one thing well in his entire career, and that's crush lefties. He crushes lefties. Again, I like Imanaga today, but Rob Refsnyder, for how cheap he is, he's locked in right now. You look at his numbers over his last handful of games since he got the call up to fill the injury void that is the entire Red Sox lineup. Like, he's going to be batting 3rd today again, I'm sure. And, yeah, he smokes lefties. So
here's Rob Refsnyder splits against lefties the last 3 seasons. 304 batting average, 359 batting average, 308 batting average. He's hitting 400 this year, but it's only 5 at-bats. 349 WOBA, 425, 373 is at a 481 this year. He had a 234 ISO and 1,000 OPS against left-handed pitching when he came to Boston in 2022. 830 OPS last year. He just hits lefties. It's just all this man does.
Yeah,
just hit left-handed pitching. Pretty ridiculous. Pavin Smith hitting 9th. He's been hitting the ball a little bit better since he got called up. You do get Jacob Young with some stolen base potential at $2,600.
Sure.
Eddie Rosario is hitting 6th at $2,600. I know he's been terrible, but
yeah, I'm not a huge Eddie Rosario believer.
Okay, Pete Armstrong. We'll see if he's in the lineup. He's 23, first career home run yesterday. Going up against Cutter Crawford there. Burleson, who's kind of really faded a lot, but $2,200. For him. That I mentioned Barger here at $2K, but there's 10 under 3K outfielders that you could probably play today. So infinite value on tonight's slate when it comes to the outfield position. Yeah,
which I mean is important because we both said like at short, and I think we said at second too, even kind of third, that we didn't love the cheap options there. So it's a good chance to maybe pay up for some of those infield positions and put yourself together a cheap outfield today.
Agreed. All right. Well, that being said, it is time of the show where we go build a lineup here. Where did you want to start?
I think for me right now, the lineup starts with Bailey Ober. Like that's period. Like he's so cheap that I think then you can even pitching, you can go anywhere else if you want to spend way up or take one of the other middle options, but like 6,800.
Yeah. Take the win equity here with Corbin Burns, and if we need the money, we can move around.
Yeah, absolutely. If we decide to drop down, we can. But yeah, he's my favorite top option.
All right, catcher.
Like I said, it's Kybert or Connor Juan for me. I kind of like riding the hot hand of Connor Juan right now, but I also like Imanaga. So
he can strike everybody else out. We'll see if he strikes out. Connor Wong here. $4,300. Again, we definitely had some talks of spending up. Let's get Varsho in the outfield.
Sure.
And if you'll just give me the liberty of playing the 2K Toronto guy here.
Oh yeah, especially if you're putting Varsho in, like add Barger too. Like I think it's great.
All right. So now we have one outfield position to spend up for. We have $4,800 a position to play with. So
you kind of sold me on the Dodger bats a little bit. If you wanted to put one of those at first and or something, or put or Ohtani in the outfield.
We do Freeman Ohtani gives us 41.33 a play. You like Alec Bohm? What was Bohm's price there? 46.
Like 46, yeah.
All right. So 39 for second and short. Did we have value is definitely a little bit harder to come by here. I liked Caballero. Would you throw him at short at 37?
Sure. Yeah, I think he still provides some upside there.
And then that'd be a 41. Turang is there.
I mean, go Nolan Gorman too. He's been hitting the ball better lately. Provides some power. So
I don't mind it.
Super slow start.
And this is if you're using Corbin Burns, right? Like you can move down if you had some guys you like. We talked about Carter Crawford. Talked about Evaldi, Eflin as guys that are a little bit cheaper. If you wanted to go in that range, if you wanted to go all the way down, like you could do double spend downs, Budo and Ober, and save a whole bunch of money. So with 13 games on tonight's slate, this is just an example lineup for everybody that can be made. There's plenty of ways to pivot and maneuver around. Some of my favorite stacks today, again, Braves, even though they're not in here, again, it's just one lineup. Dodgers that I'm obviously in on, the Baltimore Orioles that I like lefty bats for Toronto, which is why we have Varsho and Barger in there. Again, lefty bats against Toronto, the other side with the Dodgers there are going to be in play. All the Braves, the Albie is back and stuff like that. What are some of your favorite stacks for tonight?
I think outside of the ones that you already said, which I'm a fan of most of those ones you mentioned, especially like, Orioles and Dodgers, but I also really like the Rangers today. I think they're a great stack. I also think the Diamondbacks against Hancock, good way to go there too. I think there's so many different options today.
Yeah, I agree with you there 100%. So there, guys, everybody, there's an example lineup. Henry's got the playbook. It'll be updated with any news and stuff that comes out. Make sure you're paying attention to that weather with the Tampa Bay Rays and Chicago White Sox. And as of right now, seems like that game may be able to play within the rain window, but you got to stay tuned. You got to have some ability to pivot around just in case that one gets closed out. Roster lock tonight at 7:05, but that game doesn't start till 7:40. So you got to leave yourself some maneuverability there if you end up rostering any of those plays. We'll be back on Monday with the pre-show and, of course, the live stream at 4 p.m. I believe Howard Bendel will be returning that week, but you'll find out when you tune in. For now, everybody, good luck with your lineup builds, and we'll catch you all later.